I know, the world is on fire and everything is terrible, but this is still a book page. We still talk about books here. And I know that many of you have been struggling to figure out what to read next because the romances feel too low stakes for the world that we're in, the dystopias feel too real for the world that we exist in. So, what do we read? What do we come up with? I've got a list of 10 books for you that have given me, if not hope, then at least something to think about that doesn't make me horribly, horrendously depressed. The first one, it's going to feel a little bit odd, but I do genuinely recommend it. The Odyssey, specifically the Emily Wilson translation, because it's this really great reminder that people have been here for a whole lot longer than 2024 years, and people have been making things and telling stories and creating art for all that time. And even now, even in this past decade, we are still finding new ways to learn about and interpret that work. And if hope isn't enough to keep you going, then curiosity and endurance maybe can be. The second one on the list is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. It's this incredible story of people using art and music to get through times of absolute destruction and hopelessness. And if there has ever been a time that the messaging of that book is relevant, it's now. Number 3 will not be a surprise to anybody who has ever met me. It's Lord of the Rings. I feel like I don't even need to explain this one. There's some hope in this world, and it's worth fighting for. Number 4, A Gentleman in Moscow. I think this might be one where if you read it, it's self-explanatory, and if you haven't read it yet, I might struggle to verbalize why it's been so important to me over these past couple of years. But I reread it yesterday. I found it really helpful when I was just trying to frame how I feel about everything that's happened in just the last 7 days alone. Number 5, I kind of just want to run away into the woods and live with the little woodland creatures. So of course I'm thinking about Redwall, all 18 or 20 or however many books of it there are. Because yes, I would like to be a little woodland creature and having beautiful gigantic feasts and occasionally a battle with some swords. Like, that sounds great, come on. Number 6, coming back to this idea that if hope isn't enough to keep you going, maybe curiosity can be. Anything that Mary Roach has ever written is about the tiny little small scale details of how the world works, of how certain processes in the world work. And I'm not talking about democracy, I'm not talking about government, I'm talking about things like bacteria, digestion, bugs. And when the big scale problems of the world feel way too big, looking at how the tiny little minutiae of the world work can be a way to just focus on something else and learn something in the process. If you don't want to have to think about much at all, but you just want something comforting, maybe this is just nostalgia, but The Little Prince, yes, the picture book, is something that I really lean on, whether that's in English or in French. It's beautiful, it's sweet. If you do want to think about larger meaning and the importance of art in the world, like, yeah, you can do that, but also, it's just a feel-good story. Number 9, I have heard a lot of people recommend Mary Oliver's poetry lately, but they've all been talking about devotions, and my favorite thing she's ever written is actually dog songs, especially if you have owned or do own a dog. You know how much they make life better, and this is a poetry book exclusively and explicitly about that, and I think that that's just really lovely. It's what I read when I'm having a bad day. It's just really beautiful and a reminder that there are things in this world that make it worth continuing to exist in. And number 10, because I refuse to give up the idea that humans are fundamentally capable of being good, Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. It's by far my favorite of his 3 books. Partially that's my background as an anthropologist coming in, but mostly it's that idea that humans at our core have the capacity to do and be better, even if that turnaround does not happen until the absolute last possible moment. Bonus number 11, The Underneath by Kathy Appelt, has been just my feel-good go-to book for years and years at this point. Another testament to the world and the creatures on it having been here long before us, and they'll be here long after. So that's my list. If you've been struggling to find what to read next, I hope this helps you. If there's something that you've been really leaning into and enjoying that I totally missed, feel free to drop it in the comments. I am always looking for more recommendations. Happy reading. We're gonna get through this together.